When Evelyn Hart arrived at the headquarters of Northbridge Innovations that morning, she expected a routine leadership transition, but instead she found herself facing a shocking order from a newly appointed executive who had barely learned where the conference rooms were located. The young executive, Marissa Vale, stood beside a nervous operations manager and announced that Evelyn's position was being terminated immediately. Unaware that the woman she was dismissing had spent decades designing the company's foundation, Marissa delivered the message with rehearsed confidence, reading from a digital tablet while her freshly printed appointment documents sat untouched on the corner of the desk. She carried the certainty of someone who believed a prestigious family connection and a new title automatically granted her the wisdom needed to control a complex organization. Evelyn did not argue, raise her voice, or demand explanations because she had survived enough corporate battles to know that emotional reactions often reveal less power than patience. She calmly collected her belongings, handed over her access card, and told the stunned assistant that the upcoming leadership review would reveal everything everyone needed to know. As she walked through the marble lobby, Evelyn noticed the company history displays celebrating famous names while ignoring the quiet strategist who had protected the business during its most dangerous years. She smiled slightly because she understood that public recognition was temporary, while carefully written agreements could outlast entire generations of executives. 3 hours after her removal, Marissa settled into her new office and began preparing a speech about transformation, progress, and the future direction of the company. She had no idea that Evelyn had already activated a series of protective procedures created years earlier for exactly this type of leadership crisis. The hidden safeguard was not a dramatic weapon or a public accusation, but a carefully negotiated governance agreement that required proper approval before major executive decisions could take effect. Evelyn had spent years ensuring that no inexperienced leader could accidentally damage the company through impulsive choices made without accountability. The emergency review process began quietly as legal teams, investors, and board members received detailed documentation showing how the transition had violated established corporate rules. Every record was organized, every signature was verified, and every timeline proved that Evelyn had prepared for this possibility long before anyone thought it could happen. While Marissa drafted announcements about her bold new era, the boardroom across town filled with people realizing that the situation was far more serious than a simple workplace disagreement. The investors were not angry because of personal drama, but because the company's stability depended on respecting the systems built to protect it. The founder, Richard Cole, was playing a quiet afternoon round at his private club when his legal advisor called and told him that an emergency meeting had been requested. At first he dismissed the warning, but the urgency in the lawyer's voice convinced him that something far more complicated than family politics had unfolded. When Richard arrived at headquarters, he entered a conference room filled with worried executives and documents covering the entire table. The legal team explained that Marissa's decision had triggered a review process because she had acted beyond the authority she actually possessed. Richard stared at the paperwork and slowly realized that the person he thought was an easy replacement had unknowingly challenged the very structure keeping the company secure. He asked who approved the termination, and the room became silent when everyone confirmed that Marissa had made the decision alone. The founder struggled to accept that his own relative had created a crisis by confusing influence with responsibility and confidence with competence. The general counsel explained that relationships could open doors, but they could not replace experience, ownership, and proper governance. Meanwhile, Marissa began noticing strange changes as internal systems stopped recognizing her requests and important approvals suddenly required additional authorization. The company technology did not fail, but it carefully responded to the actual chain of authority rather than the assumptions she had made. She attempted to access financial dashboards, approve strategic updates, and communicate new policies, yet every system quietly redirected her actions for verification. For the first time that day, Marissa felt uncertainty because the organization she thought she controlled was revealing a structure she never understood. The operations director reviewed the records and discovered that Evelyn remained deeply connected to the company through years of agreements, investments, and strategic contributions. Her influence was not based on a fancy title or a corner office, but on the foundation she had helped create from the beginning. Years earlier, Evelyn had joined Northbridge Innovations when it was only a small startup operating from a rented workspace with limited resources and enormous ambition. Instead of asking for praise or a larger position, she negotiated for long-term ownership because she believed commitment should be measured through real responsibility. She helped the founders organize finances, repair broken partnerships, and create systems that allowed the company to grow beyond the limits of its original vision. Over time, she became the person everyone called when difficult decisions required calm thinking and careful planning. The board eventually gathered for the emergency session, and Evelyn was invited back not as a defeated employee but as a central figure in the company's future. Marissa entered the room expecting confrontation but instead found a group of leaders focused on lessons, accountability, and restoring balance. Evelyn explained that her goal was never to embarrass anyone or take revenge because protecting the organization mattered more than proving a personal point. She told the room that leadership was earned through preparation, humility, and the willingness to understand what came before you. Richard admitted that he had allowed family expectations to influence decisions, without fully considering whether experience matched the responsibilities being handed out. The moment forced him to recognize that protecting a legacy required more than passing authority to the next person in line. Marissa listened quietly as the truth unfolded and realized that her biggest mistake was believing power came from appearance instead of knowledge. She understood that a company was not a stage where confidence alone could replace years of effort and careful decision-making. The board decided to restructure leadership responsibilities and create stronger training requirements for future executives entering important roles. The changes were designed to prevent similar mistakes and ensure that ambition would always be matched with preparation. Evelyn returned to her advisory role, not because she needed a title, but because the company still needed the experience she carried. Her story became an internal reminder that the quiet people building the foundation are often the ones holding everything together. Months later, employees remembered the incident as the moment Northbridge Innovations learned the difference between inherited authority and earned leadership. The company continued growing, but with a renewed understanding that respect, structure, and wisdom mattered more than appearances. Please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you. This story reminds us that true influence is built through dedication and integrity, while careless decisions can reveal the difference between having a position and deserving it.